So thanks very much for joining today in Berlin for this 7th session of the European Access Academy. And before I start, a very warm thanks to GBA for allowing us to use its premises. As you know, the overall aim of EAA is to support a successful implementation of the regulation. The regulation is a political will, and our job is to get it implemented in a good way and have a good dialogue on these tough questions and very tough decisions to make. This time, as a specific topic, we would like to look into success parameters, key performance indicators of the regulation. As you know, from January 2025 this year on, the regulation went active, if I may say it like this, and it's a good time also looking forward to 28, a potential revision of elements of the regulation to think about how do we want to measure performance. We are all in an evidence-based environment, and I think looking for evidence of the implementation of the regulation is justified. Today, that's the agenda of the morning session, a short welcome by Petra Nies, which I will introduce in a second, and then setting the scene by Jürgen Wasem and myself. Then we have the plenary session with a couple of keynote presentations by key experts, stakeholders, leaders, policymakers in the field. We will introduce them one by one. We will have a coffee break. Before the coffee break, room for plenary discussion. And thereafter, we will have a roundtable discussion looking into patient perspective, clinical perspective, regulatory perspective, and then also national perspective, member state perspective in more detail. Then we have lunch break, and in the afternoon, yes, in the afternoon, we have work breakout sessions diving into more detail. I also welcome the people online. We have about, my understanding, 80 to 100 people online, so a warm welcome also to you, and thanks for joining virtually. With this one, it's my pleasure to introduce Petra Nies, who is heading at GBA the Division of Pharmacology, so the expert, the point person for us, and thanks for being with us. Here are the yeah, good. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here in one of the conference rooms of the Federal Joint Committee on behalf of our chair, Professor Hecken, and the head of the committee's office, Dr. Igel, because as you might have noticed on the display on the ground floor that we have a plenary session of the Federal Joint Committee today, and actually we have 6 resolutions on additional benefit assessments on the agenda. As you know, with the AMNOG procedure, we have a up and running HTA system here in Germany for more than 1 decade. Nevertheless, this has been a major effort to the implementation here in Germany as well. And I think, nevertheless, the EU level will be even more strenuous. But I think it can be successful for all the parties involved, the HTA bodies, to find a common language and to find a mutual understanding and develop our methodology, and for the industry and the HTDs that they have a single gateway to submit their data. So I hope that we will have the opportunity today for you to exchange your views and expectations, and this is key for the success of joint clinical assessment, and therefore I hope you have instructive exchange and fruitful discussions. Thank you.
So thanks very much for this kind introduction. Let's recap for a second the regulation, the thing that brings us all together. The bare essentials, how I say it, recital 1 to 3. The development of health technology is a key driver of economic growth and innovation in the Union. The second one, HTA, is here to, how should I say, discriminate the good from the less good, to put it like this. And HTA is able to contribute to the promotion of innovation, which offers best outcomes for society and patients as a whole. It's on all of us to deliver on those expectations. And perhaps to the first one, I learned yesterday from Rob Nellison, an orthopedic surgeon who is with us today, the term Europhilic. And I think that's an interesting term in the current environment that we are in, where the country that is and was leading innovation for decades is now challenging its fundamentals of scientific approach and, let's say, approach to science. And I think it's a big issue also for the companies that are multinational companies, how to, let's say, reposition in such an environment. In the end, it's important to have those health technologies, to have innovation and to embrace innovation. HTA, as we know, is what we want, what the society wants, and it's good to discriminate the good from the less good and to pay and to funnel the fundings for the things that provide an additional value. And the best outcomes for patients and society as a whole. As I said, we are in an evidence-based environment, and it's a good point to look into outcomes not just of the medical products, but also of the regulation. And that's, we should always keep the humor and take it from another perspective. We are discussing PICOs a lot, the multiplicity of PICOs a lot, and I think we can also look into the PICO of the regulation. It's a fair point in an evidence-based environment. So I think, as recital 3 says to some extent, the population that we are looking into is the patients, of course, what comes down to the patients, and the society as a whole, i.e. all involved stakeholders, participants, contributors to the system. The intervention that we are looking forward is the introduction of EU HTA, a new regulation that is reshaping our traditional approach to, let's say, medicines across Europe. The comparator is a previous standard of care, the plethora of the national systems that this regulation is up against, as embedded in joint, or as with a history of joint action 1 to 3, UNEDA 21, and so on and so on. And the outcome for now is the best outcomes for patient and society, as the recital says, and it will be up to us and the future to determine what it means and to be more specific on those outcomes. With this one, I hand over to Jürgen, my co-chair.
2 minutes, as it is a tradition of this group that we speak very briefly about the country in which we are, and today we are in Germany, therefore 2 minutes on the German system. As you all know, we were one of the latest countries who established a mechanism to look at patented new products with the AMNOG 15 years ago. And there are some unique features of the German system. One, which is really, I think, special, is that we have very fast access because, in principle, from day one on launching in Germany, almost all drugs are fully reimbursed within their label, at least until the manufacturer does not decide to withdraw from the market if he is not satisfied with the final price. This leads to the fact that we have almost all innovations available, by far the country with the highest percentage of launches from EMA market authorizations. There is still some observation whether this has whether there is a negative impact of the so-called guardrails, which were implemented 2.5 years ago, where pricing with minor added benefit and no added benefit with a patented comparator is not so easy or more negative for the companies than it was before. I think one of the AMNOG features, which I hear always if I talk with international companies, is Germany is a country where it is relatively expectable what's going on. We do have clear expectations by GBA on trials should look like, how endpoints should look like. Therefore, very often, or mostly I would say, it's a relatively predictable HTA result. Very many cases where people like me, 1 year before GBA sees a trial and know already what's the result. And I think often the German affiliates of the international companies do as well. And then they try to prepare their headquarters that the trial design probably was not adequate for GBA. Nevertheless, I think it's fair to say that we do have, in my view, a governance problem with the fact that the HTA authority also is the pricing partner. I mean, in pricing negotiations, you hear 10 times an hour the sentence by JKW, but the GBA decision is binding for our meeting here, and they were, of course, the most influential partner in this decision. But nevertheless, I think mostly I think we do have a fair evidence-based HTA. Last thing, because we are talking, of course, today on JCA, I think that we will be able to integrate JCA into the AMNOG system relatively smoothly. I think you are probably thinking the same, Petra, that I'm not quite satisfied that the final regulation by the ministry was not just like the first proposal was, how to integrate the JCA into the AMNOG system. There may be some frictions here and there, but my impression at least is there is a very constructive, productive, positive attitude in the German institutions that we will make JCA workable in the AMNOG system. And with this, I give the micro back to you. One slide further, which means this button. Only to illustrate, in the beginning I mentioned that we do have a very quick and comprehensive uptake of products. This is one of the slides which all of you know that we do have on average 47 days, as you all know, which I think is supporting what I just said. With this slide seems to end, and then I give back the microphone.
Thanks very much, Jürgen.